Welcome to episode 30 of the Landlady Boss podcast. I'm here without my co-host and sister Rachel. She is enjoying Christmas in Vienna, which are we sad for her? Not at all, a little jealous, but we are happy that she gets to enjoy it. And I am going to be solo today, but I wanted to talk today about kind of the year-end review. I think it's so important with our investments when we are looking at our portfolios to analyze what went well, what didn't go well, maybe the highs and the lows, and celebrate the wins and commiserate with the lows and see what you can learn from them and make better and make improvements from year to year. So this year, I want to look at some of the amazing things that have happened with my portfolio and Landlady Boss in general. And so some of the wonderful, exciting things let's start with the good things, right? Versus dwelling on the negatives, because anyone in real estate is going to have good things that happened and bad things. So we can wait and focus on the negative after the highs. But this year, looking back, some of the really great things that stand out to me is the ability to purchase 19 more units. This was a huge influx of properties as the last couple of years, there really hadn't been a lot available on the market for multi-families. And so when these popped up, I had been analyzing the market and I knew the areas I wanted. And so when they popped up, I was able to pounce on them fairly quickly and know if I wanted to buy them or not. So that was huge. I also used our calculator, which we have talked about before, that I have a rental property calculator that I created with the help of my very smart college son. So he helped me, and I use it for all of my rental properties. I go in, I look at the expenses, the purchase price, the CapEx expenses, like things that are going to be coming up that need done in the future, insurance, taxes, the mortgage payment. I look at all these things and I'm able to put them all into this calculator, and it spits out, my cap rate, my return on investment, my cash on cash return. And a little later in this podcast, I'm going to highlight one of these properties that I purchased this year and kind of run through the numbers with you. So that's been an exciting thing to grow that big in 1 year, 19 doors. That's a huge thing for me. Something else, I was able to bring on my own handyman repair guy. So that's been wonderful for my business because I no longer have to depend upon different companies to send out technicians and work at their pace and if they have someone available or not. That was a huge bottleneck in my business, was just waiting for repair technicians. So I was able to scoop up this amazing handyman guy that was looking for work, actually from the person that sold the 19 units to me. He had a bunch of other doors and properties that he was selling that I had looked at and did not want to purchase, but he had a handyman guy that he had been employing full time who was going to be looking for work because this man was dissolving his entire portfolio. So that was a wonderful find. That's been wonderful bringing him on. He has a lot of experience with rental properties. He can handle most things, and so it's really going to save a ton of time and money because I'm not having to go through the traditional technicians where you pay $100 for the service call and $100 per hour just for them to come out and look at something. And so unless it gets pretty complicated, he can do most things. So that's been wonderful for my business and for the happiness of my tenants because we are able to respond very quickly to maintenance requests. So, and that just became possible because of scaling and growing. So, at first you have to start out small, of course. So, maybe it's not feasible to bring on your own handyman when you are starting out, but it's as things evolve and grow, these are things you can do to scale your portfolio and to help make things more efficient. So it's all evolving, right, as you are growing your portfolio. So these are things that maybe you're not there yet, or maybe you are and you have already brought on these team members. So it's something to think about and plan as you grow. Another huge win this year was finding a very integrated maintenance software. The maintenance requests, what we were using through our rental portal, was kind of clunky. They couldn't upload pictures. We couldn't text with them back and forth. It was by email only, which is slow, and we're not always checking emails. So, finding Maintain X has been amazing for our business because it's an app. We are able to send tenants a QR code, and they are able to scan that, open the request form, upload pictures, we receive it, then we can send that out to our handyman or a technician that we use, our contractor. So that's been amazing for our maintenance requests and being able to store the data. We would look at a property and we'd have to go into our accounting and pull up the property and kind of go through invoices and see, oh, when did we replace such and such, or when did we get this serviced? Now in Maintain X, it keeps that all documented per property, and we can know right away by the categories what we had done. So it just keeps it all very integrated and much easier for us to use. So that's been amazing. And then I also have a surprise project that I want to talk about at the end that is very exciting to me, that will be we just started and is going to be continuing into 2025. That is kind of a passion project for me, something that I have dreamt of doing, and it's just only possible because of all of the amazing growth and I've been able to do with my portfolio. And when I started, I do want to point out, when I started years ago, 5-6 years ago, I never dreamt that I would be at a point where I could even do what this project is. So that's an incredible win for me personally and professionally. And I will talk about that more towards the end. But I just want to point out, when you get started, having big goals is wonderful, very important. Have maybe that number in your head. Think, what would another 10,000 a month, 20,000 a month, 30,000 a month do for your business? Have that goal. Don't sell yourself short. Don't think small. Think big. And then if you only get halfway there, that's incredible. You've made it way farther than just thinking small. So I would point that out, but just have those big dreams and realize it takes time to get there. But it's amazing what time can do with effort, with focused goals, and a team and help, and God's help for sure. I have been incredibly blessed, and I don't want to be remiss in pointing out that it was all me, because I've definitely had help in doing and accomplishing what I've been able to accomplish. But it's just been such an amazing journey, and growing and developing different skills and talents, and growing with my team, and being able to have just the life experiences and the quality of life now that my family can have because of the growth in the rental property portfolio that I have. And I'm not trying to brag at all, but I'm just trying to say it is possible. If you are not even sure where to start, or you're just starting out and you just think, how can I ever get to whatever that goal is? Just know it is possible with time and effort, making those mini goals and decisions every day. Moving forward over time, you will have those big wins, and it will be amazing looking back what you can accomplish with focus. So I hope that encourages you not to give up, because it is hard. I will say it is a challenge. There are a lot of obstacles to overcome, or just a lot of stressors or problem solving or difficult things to do in real estate investing. And I don't want to sugarcoat it at all, because I do want you to understand that there are challenges. It is hard. Sometimes, certain days you just want to quit and give up, but having those goals and your why that we've talked about is so important. Having that focus and knowing that it is doable is critical, because if you don't have that why in your forefront of your mind, then when things do get hard, you just want to quit. So make sure you have really strong goals and why, and so you can keep pushing forward. And looking back on this last year, some of the lows, I hate to dwell on the lows, but that's how we learn, when we look at the things that maybe didn't go so well. And looking back, some of the less pleasant things this year that I have had to deal with are on some of the properties. We had some surprises maybe that we didn't anticipate, cockroaches or rotting wall under a window that we didn't realize was there. There's always those kind of things that crop up, or like a soft floor that we've had to go in and replace in a bathroom, or a leaking tub that leaks down into a different unit. All those things, yes, those happen, and they are not fun. But luckily those are just repairable, and you get your repair person in there and you get that handled, and so those have not been fun, but they were very solvable problems. Some other lows though would be, we did buy these units. I bought 19 units. I did have some turnover that I had to do, meaning evictions. I had to go through and decide who I wanted to keep and who was not going to make the cut. And that's always hard to do because it's hard when people are used to living in a certain place. But, I did have some people even tell me, the way you're doing things is not going to really work for me. I think I mentioned it before. I don't really want to pay rent on the first of the month, and I don't really do late fees. And, so anytime you have a new owner of something and a new way of doing things, there is going to be some conflict, some difficulties in training new tenants. So that's been kind of a challenge this year, bringing them all onto our payment portals, getting them trained on our Maintain X, getting them used to our boundaries and our set systems and our hours of communication. So, that's always an adjustment, but having to evict multiple people just because they were not paying or they were behind when we purchased, or there was just issues, and so that was never fun. I would say that's a low part of this year. Another low for this year was, I actually had a tenant take me to court and file against me, and they had to say that I was asking them to pay money that they felt was not reasonable, even though they had been back behind on their rent. Anyways, kind of a mess. They ended up taking me to court. They did not show up. So that was kind of a low. No one ever likes being taken to court. That wasn't fun. I had evicted them because they were behind on rent, and then they had a financial judgment against them because there were damages to the property, but they felt that they shouldn't have to pay those. So, all of these things are not pleasant, but that was definitely low, having tenants wanting to take me to court, but still not pleasant to go through. Another thing was the flip that I did. It took longer than anticipated. The market kind of turned. Things were very slow this summer. Usually putting a house on the market in July, I couldn't count on it selling very quickly, but this summer was its own little anomaly, which you can't always prepare for in real estate. So that was kind of a low that it took months to sell. We had it under contract and it was going to sell in October, and then that fell through. They were unable to get the financing that they thought, and so then it was back on the market. We were able to close in December, and everything ended up working out. But that was a little bit of a low, was just waiting for that property to sell and not going as quickly as anticipated. But if anything, in rental properties and real estate and house flipping, you have to be patient, you have to be flexible, you have to understand that sometimes things are out of your control. So that eventually did work out, but it was a little bit of a waiting game and kind of a pain. So, that was a low. So let's go kind of through these key achievements. The big things for this year: 19 doors. One of the 19 doors was a 7-unit property. And so kind of going through that, a 7-unit property that I bought for $400,000. All the units were rented. The rents, it brings in $56,500 a year in rents, and we were able, with the expenses, about $16,000 in expenses with repairs and maintenance and insurance and taxes and things. So, doing the numbers, it's ended up being a fairly good investment for me. It's about 12.5% cash on cash return, which is great. And then the cap rate that I look at, which is the net operating income divided by the purchase price, is just about an 8.5% cap rate. So I like those numbers. I'm happy with them. We have had some turnover in that building, so that made it a little challenging, and we had to redo one of the units. But all in all, it's been a really good property, and I continue to hope it will be. So just kind of a highlight of the numbers of that property, because the numbers are important. If you can't run the numbers, then you don't have a business, because you have to know the numbers. And so having those numbers available to you and doing the research to verify those numbers and then having a way to calculate them is huge. And I will put the link to our rental property calculator in the show notes so you can access that. It's for free. We've offered that just in the last couple of weeks. We put that up there, so it's a fairly new thing that you can get, but feel free to click on that and download that rental property calculator to help you in 2025 in your upcoming deals. Consider it my Christmas present to you. So it's definitely helpful to have. I feel like these challenges or these different things throughout the year to analyze what could have gone better. And so one great thing was the flip, in that I was able to sell it and make a profit, but it did take longer, so that affects my return. So I was able to purchase this single family home for $30,000. It was an off-market deal, and I should add that 7-unit property that I talked about, it was an on-market deal. I found it on the MLS even. So there are deals available on the MLS. It just depends on your location and how quickly you're able to find them and what deals you are being fed by your network. So it's important to build out that network so that you can be receiving deals quickly or before they hit the market even. So back to the flip. The flip that I did this year was an interesting house. It was an off-market deal. A guy going through a divorce that reached out to my contractor and said, "Do you know anyone that wants to buy this house quickly with cash?" And so he reached out to me. And this house was in very rough shape. It had a lot of animal feces in it when we walked through it. It had been very poorly maintained. It didn't even have a kitchen in it. The flooring was disgusting. The walls were gross. And later on, we found out there was trash in the floorboards and in the attic space. So there were cockroaches infesting the house, which we didn't know about. So there were some surprises with it that we didn't know. Luckily, we were able to get the cockroaches treated, and we were able to get them cleared out and get all the trash out. But there were, extra dumpster fees than we had anticipated. But we were able to go in and clear that all out and turn it around. It's beautiful now. 4-bedroom, 2-bath. We were able to add a bathroom because it only had 1 bathroom. We were able to add a butler's pantry and a mudroom. Just a really amazing home that would have been probably condemned eventually. So I feel wonderful. That's one of the highs, is I was able to save, this house, and that it's now being lived in by a family and able to have new life. So I love that. The numbers on it ended up being about $150,000 in repairs, 155. And, there were some extras that we did not anticipate, which always happens. So that's why it's so important to have a buffer when you are going into these flip deals. Have a buffer, because there's always surprises. There's always, a window that was leaking and the wall rotted out, or, electrical lines that actually need replaced that aren't done up to code, or plumbing problems. And we did add a bathroom, so that's a major expense, and completely adding a whole new kitchen, and we took out a wall to expand and open up this kitchen. So it's just beautiful now. Stunning. A huge island, a big dining room. We added a gas fireplace. So it's a beautiful home. But with it taking longer to sell than we had anticipated, of course that eats into the return. So I was able to sell it for just under $225,000. So about a $35,000-$40,000 profit, and then you take out your taxes and fees. So it came out to right around a 10% return, I would say, which is not bad for an investment, but with the time and energy it took, I wouldn't call that a home run, just because there's opportunity cost, other things I could have been focusing on. It tied my team up for longer than anticipated, just because it had a lot of surprises. Am I happy we did it? Sure. I'm glad. It also provided work for my crew through a winter that they wouldn't have had work. And like I said, we saved a house, and that whole street is elevated and looks better. So that's a win for me. A 10% return, not bad. I usually see more of the 15 to 18% return, and I like that, maybe even 20% return. So not a home run, but still worked out pretty well. So that's a big plus from this year, that is now sold and a new family is living in it. So some of these things, pros and cons, like every business has its ups and downs. A Landlady Boss has had a fantastic year. It's been so exciting. We've started this podcast. That's been wonderful to grow and develop in that, and so fun. And just to visit with my sister and be able to take our shared knowledge and expertise and share it with all of you. That's wonderful. We have released in 2024 our no rent loss tenant turnover signature system. That is a mini course that we offer on our website, landladyboss.com. So that's really exciting. And we also launched our first course, how to start your property management business. So that is fantastic. It comes with a workbook. We go through all the steps on how to get, your LLC, how to get your EIN, how to get your account set up, kind of the foundational stuff on how to get your property management business set up. So that's huge. Check that out. And then we have some exciting things coming for 2025 for Landlady Boss. We have 2 more courses that we are launching, which is amazing. The workbooks are finished. We are putting it all together and we can't wait to launch that. It's going to be how to screen your tenants and how to manage your properties. So a lot of information in there. If you are getting started in this or you are in it and just are drowning and need help, check these resources out. We also are releasing our document bundle, which is the question I think we get the most is, where do I get a lease? How do I have tenants apply? What's a check-in, check-out list that I can use? How do I get the documents? So we have put together a document bundle for everything a property manager needs to get started. So we're going to be putting this all together in an offer, and we'll have that available in early 2025. So stay tuned for that. That is very exciting. It's taken a lot of time and effort and energy to build this out for you, but I hope that it gives you the resources you need to be successful and saves you so much time and energy and money and not having to figure all this out for yourself like we had to. So hopefully this is a huge help for you. I can't wait to release that. And then up to our secret surprise project. Okay, this is so exciting for me. I, for years, have wanted to have a property in a foreign country. So you probably don't know, but I was a foreign exchange student when I was 15, and I lived in Mexico. And no, the property is not in Mexico. I lived in Mexico as a foreign exchange student, and it was an incredible experience. I loved the people and the culture and the food and learning Spanish and all of these things. And I have always wanted to have a vacation home in a different country that my family and I could go to visit. And I think I've mentioned before that I do travel often in the winters with my children. Starting about 8 or 9 years ago, I started taking them to Nicaragua or Mexico or Ecuador, some different countries. I really wanted them to see, kind of experience those different cultures. I wanted them to learn Spanish. I wanted them to struggle a little and have to see other people and how they live in other cultures and relate to other people in different situations. So that was something that was very important to me, and I have loved doing that with my children. And as they've gotten older, when they would get to high school, they would stay home with my husband, and I would take the younger ones, middle school and elementary school, just because as they got into high school, it got a little harder. Now with COVID, online resources for learning have become plentiful, so it's made it easier and easier. And this January, I am actually going to Nicaragua with my son who's a senior. He's doing some online classes, and my daughter who's in 7th grade. So it's going to be fantastic. There are schools down there. My children would always go to school also to acclimate and learn the language and meet friends and socialize. So she has a school down there that she likes. So part of real estate that appealed to me was being able to travel with my family. That was a huge goal of mine, and something that I always wanted to do was to have a family vacation rental, something that could be rented out in the meantime to pay expenses, but also something that we could go and make memories and have our own place. And this year, 2024, was amazing because last winter when I was in Nicaragua, I was able to find a fixer-upper property that was just pretty much a shell of a colonial home. There they have kind of courtyards and old style tile and bamboo ceiling with clay tile roofs, and I was able to find a pretty rough fixer-upper, but that's what I do. And one appealing thing was not only the location, it was near a lot of activities and kind of the main central square, but it also had a backyard that had actual dirt. I know that sounds funny, but a lot of the properties, houses that were already done that I looked at were just concrete, everything. So this had a yard, which was hard to find in the city limits, that we could plant fruit trees, and that's been a dream of my husband's. So this has been a dream for a long time, and being able to find this property and find a contractor and put together a team down in Nicaragua, which I've been working on since last March, has been a dream come true. And we ended up closing on the property in July and have been working on the permits and the renderings, and they have started, last month they started the construction. So that's been so exciting, and I will be down there giving updates and videos and pictures as project unfurls. I will be doing updates on our social media. So if you are not following our Instagram or Facebook, Landlady Boss, make sure that you do that so you can see updates. But I foresee that this will be done probably next summer. There's quite a bit of work that has to be done, and they're going to have to add in a kitchen and, you know, some additional bedrooms, as there was nothing there, and plumbing and electrical. There was no plumbing or electricity to the house. So, I mean, it was in pretty rough shape, but those are the best buys. So this is an exciting project for me. It's something that I have just dreamt about, and it would not be possible without my real estate portfolio. It would have been a pipe dream. So continue working hard. If you have those goals and dreams, continue working on them, because it is possible. And building out my portfolio has been amazing and hard work, and I've learned so much, but it's also allowing me to accomplish some of the dreams that I have. So as you're going into 2025, figure out what those goals are for you and keep grinding, keep working. You can do this. You're a landlady boss, and have a Merry Christmas.